Good morning. My name is Rabbi Karen Gorbin, and I have the honor of being the one to lead this service as we accompany Jacquelyn Lobl to her eternal rest. Death has taken our beloved Jackie. Our friends grieve in their darkened world, and in their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Jackie's love, which united us in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. And for the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. In this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures. It brings us the ever-new message of God's nearness. It tells of our kinship with the Creator in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. We begin with the words of Psalm 23, which will be chanted by Cantor Berman, reminding us that even though we walk through this very dark valley, God will always be with us.
Mizmor LaDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, pinot tesheyar bitzeni, al mei menuchot yenaleini, nafshi eshovev yancheni b'maglei tzedek leman shemo kam ki elech begeitz al mavet lo ira rak yatai madi shivtecha umishantecha emayinachamuni taroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorai tishanta v'shem en roshi kosi revaya ach tov chesed hirdefuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti beveit Adonai leorech yamim. A Psalm of David. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want, giving me repose in green meadows, leading me beside the still waters to revive my spirit, guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence. Though I walk through a valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever.
Since, oh my gosh, you're going to hear me more than you want to. More than just a patient, she was a fully realized person who gave to everybody who entered into her circle. Her name in Hebrew was Liora Shalva. She chose this name. Liora means my light. Shalva means equanimity. And when I think of Jackie, I think of these four qualities: oz v'hadar, strength and beauty, which were her clothing in the world. And I think of her light that shone through her eyes. And the shalva, the equanimity, because she knew exactly what was happening to her. And all she insisted on was continuing to love all of you, her beloved Larry, her grandchildren, all those that basked in that light of hers. And she taught us equanimity. When we wanted to panic and lose control, she showed us what it meant to be strong and beautiful in the face of the most difficult hardship. In this last week or so, when she was resting and barely able to open her eyes, when Rabbi Gorbin and I would come in, we would sing with her. And all of a sudden, those eyes would pop open and she would sing with us, knowing all the words to the songs of healing and blessing. May Oz and Hadar, her strength and beauty, her light and her equanimity, be her legacy to us, not just this day of difficult mourning, but in all the days and weeks and years to come, when her name will be as honey on the mouth. Amen. So anybody else who's coming up, just clip this on your clothes. Right?
Now I'd like to invite up Jackie's sister-in-law, Marion, to offer some words.
I hope I can channel Megan McCain. I wrote this letter to Jackie several weeks ago to tell her how I felt about her. I would like to share it with you and also mention how glad I am to have said these things while she knew. I'd also like to take a moment to share my immense gratitude for having Andy and Stacy and Sarah and T by Larry's side. In addition to having enormous schedules and pressures with young children, they have worked tirelessly to ensure that Larry and my needs were met and always taken care of. Before, during, and after work and parenting, they were by our sides, and their kids did nothing but bring us joy and happiness to us during these horrible days. Dear Jackie, there's some things I want you to know, and I'm glad to express them to you. When you came into Larry's life, you had some huge shoes to fill. When you didn't try to do that, you cobbled your very own. They are the warm, loving, and comfy slippers with the shining light we're all glad to have in our lives. You are the perfect wife to Larry in every way. How envious I am for what you two have created, and how lucky I am to have had sisters-in-law like you and Catherine and Anne and Jane. How when I can't remember something like the name of an actor, movie, book, or whatever, I always say, let's call Jackie, she'll know. And only once in all the hundreds of calls did you not come up with an answer. But most importantly, how you were the grandmom every kid should have. Every sweater you knit them, knowing what they would want, style, design, and color, the baking and cooking and crafting, along with your gentle teaching. You never tried to replace Sarah, Andy, and Jeff's mom, yet you loved them like they were your own, and they loved you back. You are the loved and loving grandmom you were made to be. I don't think I've ever been more touched than when you turned Jane's wedding gown into a chuppah for Sarah's wedding. You enveloped all of us with your and Jane's love. How thrilled she'd be to know Larry, her kids, your grandchildren, and me have you in our lives. I hope we will all be together for as long as we can. I love you, Jackie. I'll just break it again.
Andy, Stacy, Ben, and Ellie, will you come up, please? Don't worry, we have tissues up here, too.
In order to express the profound beauty of our relationship with Jackie, I have to go back to 1988, before my family existed. But I remember my mom had passed away, and I was with my dad. I'd come in from school, and I was 20, and I was thinking of all the wisdom of a 20-year-old, thinking of words to say to my dad. And through my mind, I thought, well, he's 48, and that is really old. And I said, 48-year-old people, what do they have to look forward to? So I mentioned that we were going to get married someday, and we would have kids someday, and he could look forward to that. On the ride home from school back home, I don't know if my words of wisdom helped my dad. They made me profoundly sad, because I realized that my mom, who was kind of the cool mom in the group and would welcome my wife into the family and be the grandma to my kids, was not going to be with us. A couple years down the road, my dad met Jackie. It was obvious that he loved her deeply, and we loved her because he loved him. We got to know her and loved her very much. We moved back to Pittsburgh, and we'd have gatherings, and she kind of became the cool mom, kind of like my mom. I felt myself being proud of her, like I was of my mom. Stacy came into my life, and Jackie was an amazing mother-in-law to my wife. She left her family to come here from Taiwan. Jackie always made her feel at home. She was a spectacular mother-in-law. When we had kids, Jackie had never had kids, but she was a grandma to my kids, like my mom would have been. My daughter's wearing a dress that she knitted for her. I can't imagine that my mom and Jackie weren't working together to fill these holes that were left when my mom passed away. Jackie fought an incredible fight against a horrible disease. She wanted to live as long as she could because she deeply loved my dad, and she loved the grandkids, and she loved all her friends. You guys made her life absolutely fantastic. Dad, we're going to be okay. A couple years ago, we were here for Ben, and a lot of the same people were here, and the rabbis were surrounded with a lot of love. Dad, we're going to be okay. Jackie, we miss you, and we love you. Thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Stacy with a Y. I am Andy's wife. Jackie was my mother-in-law. In some Asian soap opera, mother-in-laws can be tough, but Jackie was far from tough. She was kind, loving, and appreciative. She never once told me what to do or criticized what I do or did, or complained how many clothes I bought. I would only hear words of encouragement and appreciation. I remember when Ben was 4 years old, we traveled to Germany. I was pregnant with Ellie at that time. After touring the Heidelberg Castle for 45 minutes, Ben wanted a nutcracker from a gift shop. I was always taught not to give kids everything they ask for, or later they'll be bratty and unappreciative. And with all the hormones with the pregnancy, I was not going to let him have it easily. Jackie and Larry never interfered with my decision at that time, and just says how good she was as a mother-in-law. She was a friend. I miss taking walks with her to my friend's Ahmed and Sarika's house in Somerset when the house was being built. I miss going to lunches with her, with my lady friends. I miss traveling with her. She was fun to be around and always up for the adventures. Sorry. Jackie was an amazing grandmother. Since the kids were young, she would do projects with them, sit in front of the TV with Ben, watch his favorite show, to later on discuss about pit players and the losses. She taught Ellie how to knit. She was so supportive. She was always in the recitals and the kids' play. She was so strong. Battles through the cancer. I can't tell you how lucky we were to have Jackie in our life. She will forever be in our hearts and memory. I just wish I could make more with her.
Jeff, Stacy, Tim, Jana, and Becca, will you please come up and share some words?
Oh boy. As the middle child, I've never wanted to be first. I always was happy that Andy would go first on things, but today I'm not so sure about that. It's difficult to follow that. My mom died the day before my 19th birthday. My dad was 49 at the time, which is the same age that I am today. And I considered my parents to have a fairy tale sort of a relationship, this kind of the love of your life, the one true love. And I remember 30 years ago at my mom's funeral, and I was sitting there. I resigned myself to two things. The first was that my dad was never going to be that happy again. And the second was that if I ever had kids, that they weren't going to have a grandma. Again, because I just considered their marriage to be such a fairy tale that really couldn't be replicated. And then Jackie came along, and it became clear very quickly that Jackie was the second love of my dad's life, and that she was every bit the love of his life that my mom was. And to be honest, that was difficult to accept at the beginning. For me, and I think maybe for Andy and Sarah as well. But the way that she entered our lives, the grace and the patience and the understanding was almost superhuman. And we quickly fell in love with Jackie, just as my dad had. So they got married. They got married in February of 1998, and Tim was born 5 months later, the first of what would be their 8 grandkids. And the beauty of the grandkids is there was no step there anymore. She was just grandma. And Andy said it perfectly. She was every bit the grandma that my mom would have been. And I think what you said, Andy, about somehow Mom and Jackie working together behind the scenes somehow, I believe there might have been some truth to that, maybe a lot. She was an amazing grandma to the kids. They loved her every bit as much as we loved Jackie and my dad. And so if we fast forward now to this past Saturday, so Jackie was fighting a very courageous battle against an awful disease, and it was clear that the days were numbered. And I flew in because she was still responsive, and we didn't know how much longer maybe that would be the case. So T picked me up at the airport. T was driving on the Parkway, and I was getting my thoughts together on what I wanted to share with Jackie when I still could. And as we approached the Fort Pitt Tunnel into the city, it occurred to me, it struck me really, that Stacy and the kids were not going to see their grandma again. And I wanted to share some thoughts from them as well. And so as we were approaching the tunnel, I just sent out a text message to the 4 of them, asking if there was anything special they wanted me to share with Jackie when I got there. I waited too long, and we were very close to the tunnel, and they were also dispersed. I mean, Tim was at Georgia Tech, and Jana's at University of Georgia, and it was Becca's 15th birthday. She was off with friends. Stacy was running around like she always is, and I didn't have a whole lot of time to get responses, and I was just maybe hoping to get something. And what happened was my phone basically exploded from that point until T pulled up in front of the McGee Women's Hospital. And I was able to share those stories with Jackie that day, and I thought they were a really beautiful tribute to how much she meant to all of us. I got home and I took some print screens of those texts. And I thought today the authors of those stories could share them with you personally. So why don't you guys come on up.
funniest things she'd do was wear these big goggles at Capon in the pool, and we'd play Sea Monster with her because she looked like one, and that was her own term for it. We didn't just call her that.
Sea Monster.
I remember dancing in the kitchen with Grandma, Janie, and Riley to Popcorn. It was some weird song that Janie loves that Grandma showed her, and then we danced to Buttercup after that.
She's so cute. Both Jackie and I Jackie and I joined the Lobl family the same exact time. She's the best mother-in-law anyone could hope for. I know T and Stacy would agree.
She taught me and Becca how to knit, and she also taught us how to make smoothies, and then she would make fun boxes for us. I know all the other grandkids know what those are.
Playing tennis with her at Capon. And once, me and Jana walked with her and Grandpa for hours and just talked.
Timing the 1 mile run at Capon.
The wave pool with the family soak was always so fun.
Thanksgiving pies and decorating table.
Whenever her and Ellie would bake and the house smelled so good.
One time we dropped the Thanksgiving pie on the floor.
Oh, and we went to France with them for a few days.
Grandma also told me this one French joke about eggs all the time, and it always cracked her up. And she was really fun with all of her French.
Let Grandma know that some of my favorite hours spent were in their kitchen, waking up to her always doing crossword puzzles and trading stories before pick games. I looked forward to those mornings all year, every year, and they consistently were highlights, oftentimes unlike the actual pick games.
I liked when she was rocking her gray hair and called herself the Silver Fox or something like that. It was really funny.
Remember that essay I wrote about her about 1.5 years ago at the start of all this? I said she would never give up until the end, and I was right. Tell her she's the bravest person I know.
I love her.
Rest in peace, Jackie. We love you, and we carry you in our hearts. We carry you in our hearts forever.
And Sarah T, Tyler, Riley, and Jane.
So my beautiful wife, Sarah, wrote this for Jackie and asked me to say it. I will start by saying this without hesitation and without qualification. I love Jacquelyn Lobl. The truth is, when Jackie first came into my life, it was a little hard for me. It was hard to see my dad in a serious relationship with someone other than my mom. But over time, I loved her for the happiness she brought him, a happiness I was not sure he would ever have again. As time went on, I began to love her for the unending love and support she gave me, as strong as if I were her daughter, not her stepdaughter. But what I still find so amazing and so hard to articulate is the way in which she treated me as a daughter, but seemed to find it just as important as I to keep Mom's memory alive. There are countless examples of this, from the many times we've talked about my mom to the many times she's found something and passed it along, be it her Passover recipe book, jewelry, or just pictures of her. And she would always give it to me or the kids, knowing that we would like to have it. Like I said, there are countless examples, but one that particularly stood out. In May of 2006, T proposed to me. At some point after that, without my even knowing, Jackie found my mom's wedding dress and had it cleaned. After being cleaned, she did not think I would be able to wear any part of it. So a few months later, T and I were married under a huppah that Jackie had sewn from us out of my mom's wedding gown. I was beyond speechless and so sure that I could never love her more than I did then. But I was wrong. Since the birth of our first child in 2008, I have seen her with our kids, her grandchildren. I have seen how much she loves them, how happy they are when they are with her, and what I didn't think was possible happened. I loved her even more. I had talked to Tyler, Janie, and Riley about all the wonderful things they remember about their grandma, and here's a few that we talked about. Baking and cooking together in the kitchen, doing art projects with her, how she fixed the holes in their stuffed animals, the sweaters and dresses she knitted for us, including the ones they are all wearing today. The fun box that Kate bought when she said Riley Piley at the hospital. The hugs and I love yous we got in the hospital. Having her cheering for them at their soccer games, watching them at ballet, and coming to Grandparents' Day at school. Walks in Squirrel Hill with many treats from the store and restaurants. Going to Phipps, knitting with her. Going to Barnes & Noble and picking out books with her. Riding the Shenley Park Carousel with her, and singing and dancing to Build Me Up Buttercup, the Popcorn Song, Brown Eyed Girl, and many others in the kitchen. I'd like to thank Alice for introducing Dad and Jackie. I'd like to thank you, Dad, for bringing Jackie into our lives. I love you, Dad. I love you, Jackie. Sure. Go, guys. Oh, yes. Thank you.
And Larry, once you've given everyone hugs and kisses, if you have a few words that you'd like to share, you can do so.
I can't believe that this is happening. And I find myself with a lot of random thoughts. We have a voice-activated switch in the kitchen that turns on a light. Jackie would say, "Alexa, please turn on the kitchen light," and then she would say, "Thank you." When I would park in a parking lot, she would be sure the tires weren't on the white lines because she didn't want to inconvenience anyone. For me, Jackie's wonder was in the small things. Those of you who knew her know what I mean. Her smile, her caring, her gentleness, her quiet, unassuming nature. There's too much, and this is too hard to talk about in this setting, and so I'm not going to do that. Alice Buckdahl introduced us in December of 1989, and we went to the Elbow Room on the 15th of December in 1989, and I sat there thinking, wow. And as I came to know her better, I realized how lucky I was to have met her. We have been friends and partners. She was my wife, and I was her husband. In the deepest meaning of those words, Jackie was so easy to be with, so easy to live with, so easy to love. I told her every day, and we talked a lot. She knew how I feel. It's hard, and I knew how she felt. Alice, wherever, I don't know where you are, but thanks again. I owe you a lot. And thanks to our family and our friends and Andy's extended group who were so close to me and Jackie through the years and through these most recent awful times. I want to thank Jackie's physicians and their staff who were kindly, expert, concerned, and accessible, and in the end arranged for her release. And to the wonderful helping staff at McGee in the 5800 unit who were attentive, professional, and helpful, helped so much to try to ease anxiety and suffering in all of us. And I'm thankful to our rabbis who came to the hospital literally within minutes to comfort us and to help us to make a horribly difficult decision, and managed to get through to Jackie through this fog that was enveloping her. There's too much to say, so I won't, except to paraphrase a poem that I think you may have heard at least once before. Jackie kissed me when we met, leaping from the chair she sat in. Time, you thief, who loves to get sweets onto your list. Put that in. Say I'm lonely, say I'm sad. Say that wealth and fame have missed me. Say I'm growing old. But add, Jackie kissed me.
It's hard to begin this new Jewish year with the sorrow of losing someone as beloved as Jackie. Instead of celebrating this season of joy and hope, we are thrust into grief and sorrow. And it seems, in any case, appropriate to me that actually Jackie's life ended during this holiday of Sukkot. You see, Sukkot is a time of gathering, of coming together in gratitude to recognize the blessings that we have. But our Sukkot are temporary dwelling places that let in the weather and can be knocked down by wind. They also remind us of the fragility of life. We rejoice and give thanks for what we have while we have it, because we know that our gifts will not last forever. As you are listening to stories from Jackie's family, it is clear that she was an incredible gift, and that you, were a gift to her. With her irrepressible smile that always seemed to hold a sparkle of je ne sais quoi, with her humor, her easy, loving way, it's not hard to see the blessings that she brought to you. Joy and a sense of wholeness came back into your lives among all of the many other small and wonderful ways that she brought love. And perhaps it would have been enough, Andy, Jeff, Sarah, just to see your dad fall in love again. But Jackie, in her unassuming, patient way, loved and cared for each of you until you couldn't help but love her back. And could there be anything better than watching her with your children? Tim, Jana, Becca, Ben, Ellie, Tyler, Janie, and Riley. Even more than your parents, you were the gifts your grandma never imagined she would have before she met your Papa Larry. She loved seeing you and being with you and watching you grow. And you also prompted her to learn. Ben, I don't know if you remember this, but she took my beginning Hebrew class just so she would be able to follow along at your bar mitzvah service. Tim, Jana, and Becca, I know that she appreciated hearing your memories of her during those last few days. To know what she means to you, to feel your love in every single one of those text messages, that brought her so much joy. And Ellie, Tyler, Janie, and Riley, do you remember how your grandma lit up when she saw you last Saturday? I bet that she lit up that way every single time she saw you. How could she not? You were her gifts, the ones she thought she'd get to enjoy for many more years to come. She loved you so much and wished she could watch you grow up. But if you remember her, if you all remember her, and share stories about her, even though Jackie has died, she will never be gone from your lives. Rather, she will live on and through you. Let her love be a shelter for you like the sukkah, and she will continue to bring you blessing throughout your lives, even as you brought blessing to her life. And as we acknowledge the blessing that she brought to our lives, I invite you to please rise as you are able, as we recite the words of El Maleh Rachamim, God full of compassion.
El Maleh Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hametzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'malot Kedoshim U'Tahorim, Kezohar Harakim Azirim, Et Nishmat Liora Shelva Bat Avraham V'Sara Shel Hacha Leolama Began Eden Dehei Menuchata Ana Bar Harachamim Hastireha Besefter Knafecha Leolamim Utzror Bitzror HaChaim Et Nishmata Adonai Unachalata V'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava v'nomar Amen. El Maleh Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Leora Shelva Bat Avraham V'Sara, the soul of Jacquelyn Lobl, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that she find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace, and let us all say, Amen.
As we prepare to end this service of love, memory, and tribute, sometimes rabbis have to give difficult news, and Larry knows that we've had some difficulty with the cemetery. It has just been announced to us that the entire ground is unsafe. So, knowing Jackie, she would say, then don't do it. So I'm going to spend a little bit of moment with Sarah and Jeff and Andy and Larry, and Marion if she wants to come in, and just talk about what we want to do, because it's unsafe to do a burial today, and she, Jackie, would not want to put any of you at risk going out there, and we need to make a decision. I apologize. I've been a rabbi for 35 years. This is the second time that there's been difficulty with a burial like this, and I thank you for your patience as we try to do the right thing by Jackie and keep all of you safe. So this formally ends our service. If you want, you can sit here a minute, because we'll be able to announce what we might choose to do in the next couple days and make sure everybody has the right information. And I appreciate your patience as we try to figure this out in real time.